Okay, so we're back. I just moved the seal up a little bit, and the oil has gotten up through the wick. Let's see if I can. Thought I. Let's see if I can make this a little bit bigger. There we go. That should be a little bit better for you guys to see everything I'm doing. All right, perfect. So anyway, so this is like we said, this is a spirit lamp or a devotional lamp. And the terms I use them interchangeably. Literally, a spirit lamp is a devotional lamp to a spirit. All right. And so that's one of the most powerful expressions and one of the most powerful embodiments of the lamp is as a devotional lamp. So these represented a ongoing form of honor and respect and worship and reverence of a particular God or particular spirit, right? And there are many ways to construct a devotional lamp. This is the one that I'm using here for so you can be edified by it. Now, in some of the other lamps I'm going to show, like for example, the chamber lamp, what's the other one called? Like the hurricane lamp or the lantern style. Those are a little bit more tedious to fill them up with oil. One of the beautiful things about having an open font style like you see here is that literally you can just add the oil in. And because it has a buoy system, you don't have to worry about the flame igniting anything in the bowl because it's always going to stay level with the oil. So as long as you keep the oil topped off, you won't have that issue. All right. Now, what else did I want to say? The other beautiful thing about this is you can add libations to this lamp, and then essentially almost like feeding the spirit through this lamp, right? This lamp becomes a way that we engage and interact with the spirit that we're giving our devotion to. So for example, on a weekly basis or on certain feast days or certain holy days that are to be reserved for that spirit, then you can add, like, let's say some rum or some wine or even some water to this lamp. Of course, it's going to sink. It's going to cause the oil level to rise. So it won't bother the wick. It won't bother anything else you have going on here. That's where you can kind of feed your lamp. So if you hear somebody say or hear me say, feeding your lamp or feeding the spirit of the lamp, that's what is implied there, right? That you're adding oils into it. You're adding libations into it. Again, you don't want to go over, overboard with it, but a few drops here and there. I would say about, a half an ounce at a time or an ounce at a time at max. And what will happen is eventually, all right, it'll fill up and you have to create a new lamp for that. And I'm going to show you how to do that in just a moment. Now, here is the big thing about lamps. All right. The energy of the lamp is perpetual because the light, the flame of the lamp is perpetual. Multiple times throughout the scriptures, it is said that the fire on the altar should not go out under no conditions. And when you're working with spirits and you dedicate a spirit lamp, it is a form of devotion. It is a form of dedication. So therefore, you want to make sure that the flame on that does not go out. Even as you're changing it, even as you're adjusting the wick and cleaning things up, you want to make sure that that flame does not go out. So I'm going to ignite this. And again, you can say a prayer to do this. I'm going to use a white candle here. You're going to see why in just a moment. I need to really trim that wick down. Okay. Because it's going to start to soot. If you don't like thick wicks, you can definitely, once you unroll your cotton ball, then you can split it in half, all right down the middle long ways to get a thinner wick so you won't get a whole bunch of soot. But I like to tend to these to kind of get it just right. You got to tweak it a little bit. You got to take some off the top and, pull it up a little bit just to get it just right so you don't get a whole bunch of soot. But be mindful, a thick wick will render a lot of soot. So if you have a thicker wick, then you need it to be shorter as far as length is concerned. If you have a thinner wick, you probably need it to be longer as far as length is concerned, just as a word to the wise. All right. So I'm just looking over here at my notes to make sure I got everything I wanted to say about that. You can, if you don't have an icon like this in there, you can certainly set this before. If you have a statue of your spirit or a shrine that's dedicated to a spirit, you can certainly set this on onto that. All right, because you want the flame, you want the light rather of your lamp to bathe that image. All right. And again, these spirit lamps, I don't use them for spiritual work per se. These are strictly for devotional purpose. All right. And again, this is not for, the faint of heart. This is not for someone who just wants a quick fix. This is something that you are going to tend to over a period of time, and you have the dedication and the discipline to do that. You don't want to become lax about these kinds of things. You don't want to become lazy about these kinds of things, because spirits can begin to catch an attitude with you. If you've set some time for them, you've set a lamp for them, and you've been lazy about it, you've been haphazard about it, you don't tinter their oil, you don't give them regular libations, they can show you some attitude. It's one of those things that it's better to not make a vow than to make one and break it. All right, so that's kind of what I wanted to speak to in there. One of the beautiful things about these spirit lamps is once you are done with these, you can, if you have some herbs left over, some minerals left over, like we have gold in there, we've got chamomile in there, we've got citrine in there. You can also add a little small metal charm that relates to the spirit. All right. There you go. If you're working with the spirit of the crossroads, you can certainly use crossroads dirt in there. You can have a stone from the crossroads that you put in there. And once you've done with all of that and it's dried up all the oil, you can add those into a pouch and carry that as a memorial to that spirit as well. So I'm going to, again, you want to trim these wicks down. Let me trim this. Let me find my scissors. All right. And that is part of maintenance of this lamp. It's still sitting up a little bit. I'm going to take a little bit off the top again. Just a little bit. Just like that. And that should be perfect. That should be perfect. All right, stay tuned for our next installment.